Today we are going to be going over our Week 11 predictions for the 2024 NFL season. And before we get into our predictions, let's take a look back at how we did in Week 10. And as you can see, we finished with a 12-2 record in Week 10, which brings our total record up to 104-48. Let's see if we can continue that in Week 11, with the first matchup being the Thursday night game. I don't know if this can top last week's Thursday night game of Ravens-Bengals, but this hopefully will be another great Thursday night game. We have the Commanders at 7-3 taking on the 7-2 Eagles. The Eagles are 3.5-point favorites in this one. The Eagles have looked great recently. I know they played the Cowboys, but they blew out the Cowboys. They didn't blow out the Jags, but they beat the Jags. They blew out the Bengals. They blew out the Giants. Like, they were winning close games, and now they're winning games by pretty large amounts. And currently are on a 5-game win streak. And the Commanders were on a 3-game win streak, but they just are coming off of that recent loss to the Steelers. And that brings up my point how I'm not really sure what to think about the Commanders, because they honestly, outside of the Bengals and Cardinals, they haven't really beaten any great teams. So this will be their first real test in a while outside of Pittsburgh. And I'm actually going to go with the hot team right now. I'm going Philly and the home team as well. Give me the Eagles 27-24 over the Commanders. Next is the 6-3 Packers taking on the 4-5 Bears. Packers are 6-point favorites. Bears, of course, recently coming off of firing their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, I believe. I think they now have Thomas Brown, who was like their pass game coordinator, as their new offensive coordinator. And the Bears just haven't looked particularly very good. Their defense, which was elite to start the season, they're still obviously really good, but they're not like top of the league right now. And their offense has probably regressed since the beginning of the season. So I do think that the Packers are just too good, and they're also coming off a bye. So I think the Packers win this game. However, the Packers they've won games, but they haven't convincingly won a ton of games. So I think this could be, since it's at Chicago, could be maybe closer than people think, and the Bears defense is still good. But I do have the Packers winning 24-20 over the Bears. Next game is the 2-8 Jags taking on the 8-1 Detroit Lions. Lions are coming into this game as 14-point favorites, which is one of the largest spreads I've ever seen. And it makes sense. The Lions are obviously, if not the best team, one of the best teams in the league, and the Jags have just not been great. They've had good games, don't get me wrong, but they just haven't been able to put it all together. And I think Trevor Lawrence just got reported to be out again. And when Mac Jones was the quarterback, the Jags put up, 7 points against the Vikings? I know it's a good Vikings defense, but the Lions defense is also very good. So I think this will be a very, very easy win. And I actually have this being my lock of the week, and I have the Lions winning 34-17. I originally had it at 34-20, but Trevor Lawrence being out, I moved it down to 17. I just don't think this game will be particularly close, especially considering it's at Soldier Field. Or it's not Soldier Field, Ford Field. Next is the 2-7 Raiders taking on the 3-6 Dolphins, who just came off of their first win in a while, beating the Rams. They're 8-point favorites over the Raiders. The one concern of the Dolphins was their offense, but that was without Tua. With Tua, you've seen a completely different offense. It's still not great, but it's been so much of a better offense, and they haven't even gotten their guys involved, really, as much as maybe they could be. And their defense is still playing good, still a average to above average defense. And the Raiders just don't have much going for them this season. So I do think this will be an easy win for the Dolphins. I think they win 27-17 over the Raiders. Maybe with the Raiders coming off of a bye, they can make this a close game, but I think the Dolphins win this one regardless. Next is the 4-5 Rams taking on the 3-7 Patriots. The Rams are 5-point favorites. Patriots coming off of a big win at Chicago, dominating win, even though they didn't put up too many points. They did what they needed to win. And the Rams coming off of a very unfortunate loss to the Dolphins. A lot of missed opportunities, especially in the red zone for the Rams, that maybe could have resulted in them winning. On the Patriots side, Drake May has looked pretty good. The offense hasn't, but Drake May has shown you that he can be your franchise quarterback. They're still dead last in passing yards per game. That also could count Jacoby Brissett as well. But their defense is still very good. And although the Rams haven't looked that bad since getting healthy, they were on that nice little win streak. I just haven't been particularly impressed by what I've seen with the Rams. And I like to pick upsets. Yeah, I like to pick at least one relatively big upset of the week. So my upset of the week is the Rams losing 17-20 to the Patriots. Now we have Browns Saints. Browns 2-7, Saints 3-7, coming off that big win versus the Falcons. Well, I'm pretty sure the Browns had a bye week. Yes, they did. Saints are 1-point favorites in this one. I do think the Saints win this one. I know they've not looked good, but they looked good last week. And I think that's more of a representation of who they are as a team. Not necessarily the first 2 weeks or even the next, their last, 4, whatever. I think how they played versus the Falcons is who this team is. But also, on the Browns side of the ball, they are coming off of the bye. Jameis Winston playing his former team. And I don't know, although the Saints did impress me, I don't know if they can do that again. I think the interim head coach boost has it's more of that first game. And I'm actually going to go with the Browns in an upset here, 23-20 over the Saints. I was thinking of picking the Saints, but I was like, you know what? I'm going Browns in this one. Now we get potentially, I know we're talking about that Thursday night game. That's great. But this there's a lot of great games. We got Commanders, Eagles, Ravens, Steelers, even Chargers, Bengals could be good, and also Bills, Chiefs. But talking about this Ravens-Steelers game, both teams come in with 7 wins. The winner of this will temporarily take first place in the AFC North. Ravens 3-point favorites in this one. Steelers coming off of a big win at Washington. Baltimore coming off a big win against the Bengals. Now, I would lean the Ravens initially, but what's making me potentially pick Pittsburgh here is that the Ravens barely beat the Bengals, and they did score a ton of points, but that's mainly because the Bengals' defense isn't very good, but their defense isn't great either. And you saw that in the Bengals game. And when it comes to the Steelers' offense, Russell Wilson has them playing great. So I actually think the Steelers have a very good chance of winning this one because I think their offense will be able to score enough, and they have one of the better defenses in football. And I think that can contain the Ravens just enough to get them over the edge, just like it did versus the Commanders. And I'm actually going to go Pittsburgh winning this one 30-27 over the Ravens. Next game is the 7-2 Vikings taking on the 2-7 Titans. Vikings 6-point favorites. Now, the Titans do have a good pass defense, but outside of that, they just don't have much going for them this year. They were kind of in the Chargers game last week, but Chargers pulled away late there. They got a touchdown at the end, but that didn't really factor too much in the game. So, and the Vikings, I know they've been up and down. Sam Darnold did not play well at all versus the Jags, but they still got the win, and I think they can do that this week. I got Vikings winning this one 20-13 over the Titans. Now we have the 4-6 Colts taking on the 3-7 Jets. Anthony Richardson was just recently, as I'm recording this video, announced as the starter for the Colts going forward, actually, not just this week, but for the whole season. Jets are, though, 4-point favorites. And this was an interesting one because with Richardson starting, maybe the Jets defense can get after him enough, kind of like they did what they did with Stroud, and maybe make him make some mistakes. But the Jets haven't been good either. Their offense hasn't been great, and the Colts defense is actually very solid. And I actually like the Colts in this one, 21-17 over the Jets. Now we get the 6-4 Falcons taking on the 5-5 Broncos. A very interesting game. Broncos are 2.5-point favorites, coming off of that tough, unfortunate loss to the Chiefs off of that blocked field goal. Falcons coming off a very unfortunate loss to the Saints as well. Their first division loss, I'm pretty sure, actually, because they swept the Bucs and then beat the Panthers. But honestly, I know the Broncos have a good defense, but the Falcons' offense has been playing great, especially Bijan Robinson, who's just been unreal the last 4 to 5 games. And I know the Falcons' defense has been up and down, but so has the Broncos' offense. And the Falcons, at least on the road, have been pretty good. They beat the Eagles on the road. Yes, it's the Panthers, but they beat the Panthers on the road. They only have one road loss all year, and I don't think that's going to change. I like the Falcons 24-21 over the Broncos. I already shown. My prediction for the Niners Seahawks is the Niners winning 30-28 against the Seahawks. They're 6.5-point favorites in this one. Their offense looked a lot better now that they got McCaffrey back. Even Jawan Jennings was back after he missed a little bit of time. And the Seahawks just haven't been consistent enough for me. These teams do seem to have good games, so I do think it'll be a close and high-scoring game. But I'm going to give the edge to the home team, to the Niners, winning this one 30-28. Now, one of the games, if not the game of the week, is always a good game when these two teams play and these two quarterbacks play. It's the Chiefs versus the Bills. Chiefs 9-0, Bills 8-2. Bills 2.5-point favorites in this one. And this one's a hard game to predict with how the Chiefs have been winning their games recently. Because the Chiefs' offense hasn't been great. Mahomes hasn't been Mahomes, but they're slowly picking it up, I feel. Every week by week, they're slowly improving. And the Bills' defense is very good, though, so I do think that will sort of balance itself out. And I think this will come down to the Bills' offense versus the Chiefs' defense. Obviously, the Bills' offense is very good with Josh Allen and that offense. But the Chiefs' defense is what is probably the reason they're 9-0 here. And a little bit of luck or whatever you want to call it. But the Chiefs' defense has been great all year. So I do think they can neutralize Josh Allen and the Bills. And I hate to say it, but I'm actually going to go with the Chiefs. They just find a way to win. Whether it's a ref making a call or a crazy play like a blocked kick or just winning, they find ways to win, whether we like it or not. And I think they do it again, 27-24 over the Bills. Now our Sunday night game. This game actually got flexed into Sunday night. It's the 4-6 Bengals taking on the 6-3 Chargers. Chargers 1.5-point favorites. The battle of Burrow versus Herbert. And I think this is going to come down to the Bengals offense. Because I think the Chargers will be able to score a decent amount of points against this Bengals defense. However, I think it's going to come... Because just like the Ravens playing the Steelers, the Bengals haven't played a defense like the Chargers. Number one defense in football, at least scoring-wise. And I think their offense will not do what they did versus the Ravens, obviously. And I think that's going to be the difference in this game is can the Chargers defense contain Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and the Bengals enough for their offense to put up the points needed. And I actually think that'll be the case, mainly because the Bengals defense isn't great. So I'm going to go Chargers 24-20 over the Bengals. Last game of the week is the Monday night matchup between the Texans and the Cowboys. Going into the year, we thought this game would be great. To the Battle of Texas, you get the C.J. Stroud, Micah Parsons, little like rivalry, friendship, whatever. Two very good teams, but the Cowboys haven't been great, and now Dak Prescott's hurt. However, the Texans haven't looked great themselves either. Their O-line has been banged up. I know they haven't had the receivers. I'm not sure if Nico Collins is going to play in this game or not. He is currently questionable. I don't think it's going to matter. I think they'll beat the Cowboys regardless. I think that will just change the score of the game. Probably many people think this will be a blowout, and I could see that happening. But I think this will be closer than maybe people think, and that's mainly because of Micah Parsons. You saw his first game back against the Eagles. I know they gave up a lot of points, but you saw how much Micah Parsons makes that defense, how much better Micah Parsons makes that defense. And with the weakness of this Texans O-line, I think Parsons will have a very good game and make this a little bit of a low-scoring, closer game than many people think. However, I just don't think that'll be enough for the Cowboys to beat the Texans, and I have them winning 23-17 over the Cowboys. And that will conclude our Week 11 predictions for this 2024 NFL season. As always, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and also make sure you hit the subscribe button if you don't want to miss more content, as it is very much appreciated. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.